I'd like to call this meeting of the Fall River Licensing Board to order, and at this time read our open meeting law. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any media. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. If I could remind everybody to at least put their cell phones on vibrate, silent, or if you choose to turn them off, that is up to you. And looking at our agenda, we'll go to item number 1, which is public input. If you could please give your name and address and kindly state your business.
Patrick Higgins, Carter Medeiros Towers.
Evening, Patrick.
First of all, I came up here because one of my biggest pet peeves is people who talk from the audience and not on the microphone, so people at home can't hear what's being said. First of all, this is the first meeting I've been in since you've renovated the this room, and I was upset because that side door nearest this room should be unlocked for the general public to be able to get in here. The handicap spots right there, the ramp's there, and then you gotta go all the way around the other building. That's not fair. Mr. McCoy, congratulations on your new position.
Thank you, sir.
I did watch the last couple of meetings and you're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
So, I'll have some comments on a couple of other issues tonight, but like I said, that door being locked is a big issue for me. And oh, I have one other issue. Officer Monis.
Yes, sir.
The City of Fall River Licensing Board has you as their enforcement agent, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Every license that she has issued says this license must be conspicuously displayed where the general public can see it.
Yes.
If you go to any restaurant in Brockton, they got a bulletin board on the wall with all their licenses. You go to a restaurant in Fall River, you can't find a license. So I would ask you to please look into that and make people comply.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Do we have anyone else who'd like to partake in citizens' input? All right, we'll close that matter, that section of the meeting. Item number...
To accept public input.
If you'd like to. Sure.
I'll make a motion to accept the public input information. Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made by Mrs. Esposito and seconded by Mrs. Cadero. All in favor? Ms. Cadero, excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Item number 2, one-day permits. I believe our first applicant is here on behalf of BCC, Mr. Baxter Smith. Hi, Mr. Smith. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
If you could just give your name and address.
Yes, Baxter Smith, 777 Ellsbury Street.
Mr. Smith, thank you. And it appears we have a one-day permit request here for the organization within BCC Cadet Partnership and Bristol Community College. It appears that this event is going to take place April 13th, 2022 from 5 to 8. And again, one-day permit for beer and wine. The college is providing their own security. Do any members of the board have any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
This used to be an annual.
Yes, yep. Yep, prior to COVID, so all
Right.
the events are starting to come
Good.
back now, so you'll be seeing more of me.
Good.
Would the board entertain a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the one-day permit for beer and wine for BCC on April 13th, 2022.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Ms. Cadero, seconded by Mrs. Esposito. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. One-day permit granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Baxter. Next item, under 2B, also BCC. Do we have a gentleman here Looks like BCC
Okay.
represented by Mr. Robert Perry. There we go.
Good evening.
Mr. Perry, could you state your address?
Address of residence or address that I'm representing?
You can that you're representing. You can use the colleges.
777 Ellsbury Street, Fall River, Mass. I'm Robert Perry.
And Mr. Perry, it looks like, again, a one-day permit for an event, May 31st, 2022. Am I saying this right? Epicurean Feast?
That's correct.
Cafe. Was this another typically yearly event but ended due to COVID? Or
No, this was it's a memorial service for someone who has passed away.
Okay, okay, very good. Very good. Actually, I did see that when you Dr. Lizard?
Yes.
I believe. Okay.
Correct.
I believe clerk had a question for you, if you could.
Was this check from you guys?
Yes.
Okay, you sent it to the Board of Health, so it went all around, it needs to, yeah.
Excellent.
And next time when you guys make a check out, just put the department that it's for on this portion, because it really went everywhere.
Okay.
Okay, so,
It's meant to be sent to the city of Fall River, correct?
right, the licensing department, and that
Oh,
went to the
okay.
Board of Health,
Okay.
okay? Because I guess when they opened it, there was nothing on this check that indicated where it belongs.
I will talk to my accounts payable.
No problem, thank you.
No liquor?
Thank you, Mr. Perry. So the, and the one-day, hold on, Mr. Perry, if you could, the one-day application,
Okay.
again, is it in all liquor? I apologize, because I'm missing
It is all liquor.
beer and wine, all alcohol.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Could I get a
I'll make a
motion from the board?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the one-day permit for all alcohol license for BCC on May 31st, 2022.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Ms. Cordero, seconded by Mrs. Esposito to approve the one-day permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Application approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, and please excuse if I mispronounce the name of the corporation here. I believe it's the Arthov Corp. Yep. Okay, doing business Sunny Hill, Mini Mart, 2632 South Main Street, and Mr. Patel.
Hey, thank you, Board. Matthew Porter, I'm the attorney for the applicant, 480 Turnpike Street, southeast of Mass.
Welcome, Attorney Porter.
Billy Patel, 230 Osborne Street, Fall River.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Excellent. So before the board, this is the transfer of the beer and wine license for 2632 South Main Street, which currently does business as Sunny Hill Mini Mart. Along with me is Mr. Pradeep Patel. Mr. Patel is one of the principals of the applicant. He'd also be the proposed license manager. There are no major anticipated changes to the operation of the store, no structural changes, no changes to the hours. Mr. Patel is a seasoned operator in the retail industry. He's operated a couple smoke shops. He did have a beer and wine license in New Hampshire for a period of time, so he certainly understands the expectations and responsibilities that come along with operating a beer and wine license here. No violations whatsoever. He's alcohol tip certified. All of his employees would be required to be alcohol tip certified as well. The lease has already been assigned. There is financing in place. Rockland Trust will be financing the transaction. They are asking for a pledge of the liquor license as a result of that. And there's a commitment letter from Rockland in the package as well. So with that, I can certainly answer any questions the board may have, and Mr. Patel can as well.
Okay, prior to any questions, could we get the report from the police department,
All
Detective
reports
Moses?
are favorable.
You have this right here, right in front, right on top. This one right here on top?
Right here?
No, the
The
one
one
on
right on
top.
top.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Jesus. Looking for Heather's name, not
The chief.
Chief Gorvin. So we have a clear and favorable report from the police department. Any questions from the
No.
board?
I have no questions.
Attorney Porter or Mr. Patel? No questions?
No questions.
The board entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll need to make two motions. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the beer and wine package store license.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Esposito to transfer the license, seconded by Ms. Cordero. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion passes.
And I'll make a motion for the pledge of license, to approve the pledge of license.
And I'll second the motion.
Motion made to approve the pledge of license by Mrs. Esposito, seconded by Ms. Cudero. All in favor?
Aye.
Second motion also passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Agenda item number 4. I don't know if Attorney Porter, you're staying. New beer and wine package store license, Aiden LLC, doing business as Broadway Convenience, 167 Broadway. Also Mr. Patel, Viral Patel.
Hey, thank
Welcome.
you again, Board. Matthew Porter, Vera and D. John Filippo, 480 Turnpike Street, Southeastern Mass.
I'm Varel Patel, 167 Broadway, Fall River, Mass.
You have to speak up. Speak up.
Rajendra Patel,
Your address.
Address?
167.
same address, 152.
152 Broadway?
167.
167 Broadway?
Yeah, a little language barrier, so I.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Attorney Porter?
Yes, so before the board, this is technically a application for a new Section 15 beer and wine license. This was an existing location for the beer and wine license within the city. There were some issues with renewal on this license itself. And so the license in turn went back to the city. So this is really a reapplication for an existing store. Virel Patel is going to be the manager on the license. His father, Rajendra, who's here with us today, is one of the principal owners there. So certainly, there's no anticipated change to the business. The business has been operating. It's just, currently not operating with the beer and wine license in place. So that's the purpose of the application before the board today.
Any questions from the board?
No question.
I have a quick, how long have we been in this lapse period, Attorney
It's been
Porter?
about a year, right? Yeah.
About a year?
I think it was the prior, it was the prior year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2021, it would have been, there would have been no license in place, I believe, in
Okay.
2021.
Okay, and I do know that we do have a positive report here from Police Chief Paul Gorvin. Detective Monis, anything to add on top of this? We're good. Will the board entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the new beer and wine package store license for Aiden LLC.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion made to approve by Ms. Cudero, seconded by Mrs. Esposito. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes for new beer and wine package store license for Hayden LLC. Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Item number 5, we have transfer of all alcohol common victular license. States here LOEI Incorporated, doing business as LePage Seafood and Grill, 439 Martine Street. John Paul Van Rigamorter. Attorney Salino, how are you? Can you?
I'm well, Mr. Chair. For purposes of the record, Peter Salino, lawyer, 550 Locust Street here in Fall River. Before the board in this petition is the transfer of the all alcohol on-premise license for LePage Seafood. My client is the applicant, LOEI Incorporated. There is in the package purchase and sale agreement for the business and the real estate. Ultimately, what's happening is there's one entity that's buying the business and one that's buying the real estate. The real estate holding company will lease to the operating entity. There's no anticipated changes to either hours or the premises. The manager is in the process of getting tip certified. He is Dr. J.P. Van Rigamorter, who owns Dutchman Dental here in Fall River on Pleasant Street. And other than that, there are no substantive changes. I'm happy to take any questions the board may have.
So the hours are going to stay the same?
Yes, the
Everything?
operation, at least initially, Mrs. Esposito,
Yeah.
Esposito is going to be exactly the same.
Okay.
Does the doctor, I do apologize, I was glancing at the folder, but does the doctor have anyone close to him, or does he have someone on in a managerial basis? And again, I may have missed it, that is familiar with, I understand
Yes.
you could be an expert in more than one trade,
Yes.
but I'm assuming he hasn't been running restaurants or handling
He has
bars.
not. In fact, the paperwork indicates he's been a dentist since the mid-90s. So yes, we're in the process of getting a manager on board, and then we'll be coming back before the board for a change in manager at that point.
Thanks, Attorney Salino. I see a note here that we have a positive report from the police department. I don't see the chief's letter, so I just want to confirm with Detective Monis. No problems on your end?
Nope, all favorable.
Would the board entertain a motion?
Motion, yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of the all alcohol common victualer's license. So I'm not going to approve the manager today because we don't.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm
Oh, you
asking for
do?
the approval of the manager as Dr. Van Riggenmorter.
Oh,
But I'm
okay.
disclosing
So-
to the board that we're working with someone who will come on as a full-time manager.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the manager
Thank you.
right now.
So the transfer and the manager.
Yes, transfer and the manager.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Mrs. Esposito to transfer the all alcohol common victular license and to approve the manager as Dr. John Paul Van Riggenmorter, seconded by Ms. Cordero. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and motion passes.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Transfer granted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6 on tonight's agenda, new beer and wine common victular license, Sophia Rachel Inc., doing business as Harry's Restaurant, 264 South Main Street, and we have Mr. Donald Cordero with representation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. John Mitchell, I'm an attorney. I represent the Caderos and the corporation. I have offices at 105 Bank Street, Fall River.
I'm Donald Cordero, one of the owners of Harry's Restaurant on 270 South Main Street, Fall River, Massachusetts, 02721.
I'm Paulo Cordeiro, owner of Harry's, 270 South Main Street.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
And this is an application for a beer and wine, new license at Harry's. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, just a few blocks from here. They're interested in it for a couple reasons, mostly for mimosas, breakfast, particularly on Saturdays. They said they've been getting calls, and because they don't have the liquor, they've lost some business over weekends and weekdays too on that. They're only open till 2 o'clock, other than Friday, it's 3 o'clock, so we don't believe it'd be any nuisance at all downtown, and, you know, help their business, bring some more people in. Mrs. Cordero is tip certified. They've both worked at other establishments with liquor, Fall River Grill, Portis de Ciudad, and so they've had experience with it. They know how to handle it, and they're just asking for the approval tonight so they can start serving it with breakfast.
Does the board have any questions at this point?
Nope, I have no questions. Nope.
And there's no pledge or anything, it's a lease. They bought, well, they started leasing it, what, 3-4 years ago right now?
4 years.
Ago. Yeah, 4 years ago already, so.
Positive feedback from the police department? Anything of note?
Nope, all reports favorable.
And I'm assuming if not our clerk can provide the rules, but you're aware of the hours that you can serve alcohol or when you can begin to serve within the city. So if not, you can get a schedule from our clerk, Ms. Ayash. Does the board want to entertain a motion?
Can I just say one thing, John, 3 is the latest they ever want to serve alcohol?
Yeah,
That's the latest they're open, yeah.
We're working.
Yeah, no, I know if they stay open.
I was gonna say,
No, go ahead, Don.
we're working owners, we don't wanna work a whole
I understand.
day. We're already up from 5 o'clock to, still working out.
Gotcha.
I'll make a motion to approve the new beer and wine common victualer's license for Sophia Rachel Inc.
And I'll second that motion.
A motion made for a new beer, wine, common victular license by Ms. Cordero, seconded by Mrs. Esposito. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it, motion passes. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Mitchell. Okay, next on the item number 7, which is entitled Old Business, New Business. So it looks like on item letter A, We're revisiting some old stipulations. It's a request to remove stipulations. Italian Progressive Club, 310 Slade Street. Mr. Beausoleil is identified on the agenda. If you gentlemen could give your address and name and address for the record.
Paul Beausoleil, 310 Slade Street, representing the Italian Progressive Club.
Robert Saraiva, 310 Slade Street, Vice President of the Italian Progressive Club.
Gentlemen, it's good to have you. Can you tell the board what you're looking to have us do tonight?
Okay, well, we had some restrictions put on our license like 10 years ago, maybe it was. I don't know, it's been quite a few years, for our outside functions. We have a couple of functions every year, like a clam boil, a steak and lobster dinner, and it's a membership club. We have them outside. One of the biggest restrictions we had is we had to have a police officer there for our functions. And it's very detrimental to us because it's for our membership, and we never have like more than 100 people. I think you've been there, it's a pretty nice sized yard. If we sell tickets for $25, our first 10 tickets, and I'm nothing against the police department, ma'am, but our first 10 tickets have to go to pay this police officer, which honestly, we don't feel we need one. We have never had an issue at any of our functions, and we like to be able to remove that restriction so we can have a little more comfortable outings in our backyard for our memberships. I mean, we've had political functions there. We've had all club-oriented things that we sponsor. The club sponsors it. We do not have outside parties in our yard. We don't rent our outside parties to anybody. One of the that was a restriction. We have a shed outside that we have alcohol, beer tap, and we would like to be able to do that outside without walking down 10 stairs to go get some alcohol to come back outside for our functions.
Yeah.
And it's like I say, it's a membership thing. We never have issues. We never have issues. Any function that we do have, we have 6 officers. At all times, and in any said function, there's always 2 or 3 of us that are there. Sometimes all 6. Depends on what kind of function it is. But there was never a function with at least 2 of our officers of the club there. So we control anything. There's never an issue. So we're just trying to remove these hardship restrictions that we have.
May I add that I definitely work with our neighbors because they're very important because it's their neighborhood too. So I inform the neighbors that are on the side of us and in front of us, whatever event we have, they know way ahead of time before we even have it. Since I became president of the club, even when I was Joe's vice president, I reached out because there were some fences that needed to be mended with them, and I think we did a great job as a relationship with our neighbors. So they know that they have my 100% guarantee. Whatever the problem is that they have becomes our problem, and we take care of it together, so it doesn't become, an issue.
All right. So can I get, for clarification purposes, are you asking for is it 2 stipulations you're asking removed? Clearly, the police officer, which I understand,
Right.
if you guys have a shrimp dinner and a horseshoe tournament within your club, it's your club's own event. So you're looking for the removal of that stipulation. And secondarily, the shed outside that basically has a beer tap.
Yeah, so.
There's a keg outside. Would that also be
We'd like to
the
remove
removal
that.
of, in other words,
Yeah.
not a full bar, but just the functioning of the tap,
Right.
the keg of beer outside,
Yeah.
as opposed to having to keep going downstairs for draft beer. Is that accurate?
That's accurate for that shed, yeah.
And
Okay.
the other thing is we could have no entertainment outside, which for many years we did, and then it got removed because we had problems with our neighbors. But we're not saying we want to have a band or a DJ or anything out there, but I mean, they didn't even want us to have a radio out there for a little music or something, I'm not saying we're gonna have a 10-piece band out there and rile the neighborhood up, because it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm still.
And we also had restrictions on the hours, which we will still keep to.
Yeah.
Never in the dark. It's never in darkness. It's like, I think we had till
dusk, I think.
till dusk or 7 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
That's fine.
it was think the restriction was May 31st to October 30th, which we still want to keep the same because no one's going to go outside in the wintertime and have a function and.
Okay, so let me at least make an effort to navigate through this. What I would suggest is, I'm assuming if you want to put on at a reasonable volume, you know, whether it's a country music station or something in the backyard, you know, as long as none of the neighbors complain, you're okay there. I would assume if you want to go forward with entertainment, I mean, that's a whole other application and license.
I believe
as
you do
those.
have one, correct, for inside?
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
So would it have to be amended, as situations present themselves, if they did want to do something outside, I'm assuming they would have to.
Go in front of the
Come-
camera if they
yeah,
wanna have-
exactly.
whether
So
it be
let's-
live or recorded.
Let's leave that as an as-needed
Okay.
basis out, or an individual basis where you guys come back and say, hey, we want to have a little, assuming that even happens, but we want to have a little two-piece band outside or whatever. But for this, for purposes of this meeting tonight, we're looking at being able to have the tapped keg outside during those hours up to 7 o'clock in the summer and.
Oh,
removal-
8 p.m.
Or 8 p.m. sunset, and removal of the requirement for the police detail for your in-house club parties and whatnot, so that's fair enough to say. All right, do we have anyone here else who'd like to speak, either in support or in opposition to this? I don't know if there's any neighbors here from the Slade Street area, so do we have anybody who'd like to add anything? All right, at this point, does the board have any questions? Would you
No, I
like to
have no-
entertain a motion?
Yeah.
They are asking again for two different things here, so.
They're asking, yeah. The first motion would be to, for the removal of the police officer. That, you know, could end. And the other stipulation would be the keg of, the liquor,
Keg of
the
beer
beer.
outside, yeah.
Outside. So those are the two. And the entertainment was?
Where that's gonna be at an
Yes.
as-needed base. They do have
Oh,
an
yes,
entertainment
that's right,
license
yes,
inside.
yeah, yeah.
If something comes
Okay,
up down the
yeah,
road,
that's
they'll
what
come
it
back
is.
before the board.
Yeah, so I'll make the motion to remove the police officer and allow the keg of beer in the summertime. For the dates, what were the dates?
Should we take those in two separate?
Yes.
Yeah. We have dates on this stipulation, Madam Clerk? are you-
They're right in the paperwork I gave you.
I didn't get the
I
dates.
think you see the variance. Should be in the center.
Zoning board decision, May 1, October 31st. Okay. So within that time frame.
Okay, 1, 2, October 31st. Okay, all right, so I'll make a motion to request, to allow the removal of the police report.
No,
Police
detail.
detail.
I mean, the police detail.
Yeah, thank God we don't have any police reports.
Police
I'll
detail.
Second, so we have a motion to remove the police
Police
detail
detail.
from the club between May 1st and October 31st, made
Yes.
by Mrs. Esposito, seconded by Ms. Cordero. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And the other motion,
Second.
yeah, would be to allow the keg of beer from May 1st to October 31st outside. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
So motion made by Mrs. Esposito to remove the stipulation banning the keg of beer during daylight hours, during those summer time frame, or up to 8 o'clock, we'll say. Seconded by Ms. Cordero. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, the ayes have it, so both stipulations are removed. Good luck, gentlemen. Thanks for
Good
coming.
luck. Thank the board
Okay.
for all the help you guys gave us through these last couple of years with the pandemic, especially Kerry. I mean, I never got to,
Didn't do
never got to
anything.
see you folks, but I've talked on the phone and other people talked, but it was a lot of help that you guys gave us to get through this. I just want to say thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, appreciate it.
Me too.
All right, old business, new business, and again, I know I always have a tough time pronouncing it. July, Friends Lounge, Inc., doing business as Cornerstone Lounge, 222-226 East Main Street. Mr. De Silva is back. Welcome again.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. For the record, my name is Arthur Frank. I'm a lawyer with an address of
209 Bedford Street, Fall River, Massachusetts. With me is the manager of the LLC, Mr. Manuel Da Silva, and I believe Mr. Pina is also in the audience, the proposed bar manager. When we were here in February, I informed the board that we had secured parking for 24 spots. We had also reduced the seating capacity down to 96. 24 spots would be required for one for every 4 seats. It was at that time that the chairman suggested that he wanted the building inspector to see the building. We subsequently went out on a site visit. I produced for you the parking summary showing where the 24 spots would be. I also spoke with Mrs. Petter at the request of Mr. Hathaway, and at this time, Mrs. Petter is very, very involved with her husband's health. She feels that the current paperwork that she submitted to Mr. Da Silva is sufficient to bind her, and at this time, she is not looking to sign anything else. But she has committed, as you know, that Mr. Da Silva, I think, has prepaid for the current year. So at this time, we're looking for the board for a favorable vote. We believe we've satisfied the zoning requirements. We believe we've satisfied the parking requirements, and we're asking for a favorable vote.
Okay, so as you both know, the concern of the building inspector, and I'm paraphrasing, regarding the parking is that his concern also was, though I believe, without some sort of a time frame that it would be in effect, it could go away at any time. I don't believe the certified letter said, you know, from April 1, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. I'm sure I have it here in the file somewhere, but can I get clarification on that? Do we have any, and I'm not doubting that you paid for the year and you have a verbal with her. I know we went back and forth over the statute of frauds at the site visit and what has to be in writing, what doesn't have to be in writing. So for the edification of everyone here tonight, I mean, I won't rehash that whole legal conversation, but do we have any active dates in there when this lease would be in effect?
He's paid, and as far as I'm concerned, he could use the lot right now just to park cars on for his own use.
Attorney Frank, do we have anything written on a receipt that has a deed, you know, when you, or on a canceled check in a memo section, anything showing the time frame of what you paid for?
It's like open lease. You can have open lease anywhere you go. You can get an open lease. Like I say, that one I have in Brockton is an open lease. It doesn't mean because it's open lease, you don't have access to it. Because anybody can do open lease or the lease for 3 years or year and a half or 5 years.
I don't disagree. You understand my worry is the parking is essential, or I think it has become, I don't want to speak for other board members, it would appear that it's essential to know that we have some sort of parking relief, you know, within the neighborhood. That was one of the first stumbling blocks, and I understand that he's got it, but again, I'm worried about the owner saying a month from now, well, you know what, you have nothing in writing, that's it. You have no parking anymore.
Let me suggest this. That's a zoning enforcement question, and if you can put in to any decision that you would craft the requirement that he maintain at all times at least 24 parking spaces. And if he doesn't, he obviously is subject to losing his license. He's willing to take that risk.
Okay, I do, just to change speed, and I thank you for offering that stipulation. I believe Detective Monis wanted to interject with some new information regarding continued background checks and contact with, I believe, ABC Board, but I'll let Detective Monis elaborate.
Yes. Thank you. So since our last meeting, I was able to make contact with Kyle Gill, who is the Associate General Counsel for the ABCC, and he was able to provide me with some paperwork that sort of filled some of the gaps from the last licensing board hearing that Mr. De Silva was managing the property, which he now owns in Brockton. There were some concerns that the department had regarding allegations that were made, but those have since been concluded, if you will. So from this point forward, this information has been shared with the chief, and he is providing a favorable report for the police department.
Thank you, Detective Moniz. So,
favorable.
What do you mean, like, be manager, like?
You were the manager of a business in Brockton that you now own at the same location on 250 Main Street in Brockton?
I used to be manager.
Right, you're the manager there, and now you own that, correct?
Yeah.
Right, there was a time frame in between where we had a bit of a gap where you were participating in a licensing board meeting where you were the manager of that property and you now own it. He has provided me with the paperwork that has closed that gap so we have a better understanding of what the outcome of that hearing was. Does that make sense?
So they filled in information and that was positive regarding your situation in Brockton.
Favorable recommendation.
Okay.
So, board members, do you have any questions? Well, let me, again, we do have, I know there are neighbors here. I mean, I know they've spoken their piece, but I want to give them the opportunity, since they're here again tonight, if anyone would like to speak for or against this particular application. I think we have a sense of the concerns that were going around the neighborhood, but I want to offer that opportunity if anybody would like to speak. Well, Patrick had his hand up first. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rosemary LaPointe, President of the Father Kelly Neighborhood Association.
Oh, Rosemary, could you please come up so you can use the microphone? Attorney, could you slide over, Attorney Frank, please, if you don't mind?
Hi, thank you. My name is Rosemary LaPointe. I'm the president of the Father Kelly Neighborhood Association. My concern is if you have an open lease for parking, that could be stopped the next month. He has to provide 24 parking spaces for the patrons that will be at the location. Where is he going to get 24 parking spaces in that neighborhood? As you can see by the site visit, it's a very congested neighborhood. That is my concern. Can you answer that?
Where he would have to go to, well, I imagine
Yes.
if he lost those spots across the street, if the stipulation could be made where he could not operate until he replaced those.
That is my second question.
Replace those spots.
Okay, so if and when, or maybe, he lost the ability to park in that location, how long does it take to stop the establishment from running?
If the stipulation is made within the approval, it would be immediate, is upon notice to.
My experience with this board and with the building inspector is that it's immediate.
Yeah.
It's immediate.
I understand that you would like to open a business. I have nothing against businesses, but as you know, for the last 3 meetings that we've attended, that it has never, ever worked with that type of establishment in that area. I have neighbors that will be adjacent to the parking lot. I mean, my house was right around the corner. We're woken up, the cars are leaving, they're racing down the street, they're parking, there's a lot of, cans, alcohol, nips, things thrown out on the street. I mean, we just don't feel that that's the right place to have an establishment, especially the hours that they want to operate.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
I've been watching these hearings since before you got on the board, when John Salino was here. This thing has been going on way too long. I have been to Mr. De Silva's restaurant in Brockton. As I said to Ms. Moniz earlier tonight, the restaurants in Brockton have all the licenses on the wall. His restaurant does too. He runs a great operation. You guys are making this man jump through hoops, and it's crazy. The guy spent a lot of money to open a restaurant in Fall River. The licensing board has the capability to put restrictions. If you put on the license that he has to have the 24 parking places across the street, and if he loses them, then this board can do something. I know the hours have been addressed at many meetings. I don't know what the hours are that they're asking for now, but I'm sure that Attorney Frank will let us know that very quickly. Give this guy a chance. Get some decent restaurants in Fall River. Let the guy operate. He spent a ton of money to operate a restaurant. Let him do it. And if he messes up, and believe me, from the operation I've seen in Brockton, I don't think he's going to mess up. He spent a ton of money here to make a profit. He's got a big hill to go. He's got a hill as big as President Avenue to make a profit. Let the guy go. If he fails, he fails. But don't set him up to fail. Give him the license. Let him operate. Let the residents of Fall River vote with their dollars. And if the neighbors are upset, you know, his hours, he's not going to be open until 2 o'clock in the morning. He runs a restaurant. He runs, you know, he calls it the Cornerstone Lounge. But it's not a bar and grill. It's a decent restaurant. Let him open, please. Let's stop this thing. Let's make a decision tonight. Let's get him open. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. DuBois, yes, sir.
Brian Kurt, 118 East Main Street, Fall River.
Welcome.
Hi, I have a question, because I looked something up regarding restaurants opening, having liquor license. And I remember seeing in Mass General Law that they have to have windows out front that you can look inside the establishment. And I don't know if I read it wrong, but I know you said it was checked out by the inspector, but that location, the windows are about above my head or just above my eyes a little bit. And since it is a restaurant selling liquor, I'm just asking if the board has addressed that, because you did the walkthrough and I don't know what was discussed. So I just wanted to ask the board if the gentleman is going to comply with that part of the law, if I read it correctly.
Well, what I will say is that the building inspector was comfortable with all aspects of the building, Mr. Kurt. We had him in here, we went through the entire building. It has functioned in the past as a bar and whatnot. I'm not suggesting that it was successful, but you know, we did have him there, and his issue was parking parking in relation to seating capacity within the restaurant.
I understand. It's just from what I had read, if it's a bar, they can put the high windows, like, because that used to be a nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
So that's set up for a nightclub.
Yeah.
But it is now going to be run as a restaurant selling liquor. And according to what I read on Mass General Law, that you're supposed to be able to look inside, and you can't look inside through those windows. So that's why I asked if I read it right, and if I did read it right, is the gentleman going to do something to the windows as part of the renovation to open it as a restaurant?
Well, I will pass on your concern again directly to the building inspector, to ask him to research the pertinent statute you may be referring to, and whether it's accurate, whether it's been amended.
Yes, that's correct.
Obviously, I cannot speak to the veracity of it right now, but he'll do the research. All I can tell you is that he was comfortable with everything. He was comfortable with everything within the building, you know.
That's what I wanted to bring up to the board.
Renovation, the electrical, plumbing, I mean, we did go all over, we did go over the building, but
Okay.
I will bring it to his attention.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It was a good question,
Yeah. Yes. Name and address, please.
My name's Adele Samandes. I don't live here in Fall River. I work in Brockton. I'm the business assistance manager for the city of Brockton at the Brockton Redevelopment Authority.
Yep.
We are excited about Mr. Da Silva opportunity to grow his business. My position is all about supporting business in their effort to really grow, especially in a very difficult time that we see in a lot of business close their door. And seeing Mr. Da Silva moving to a neighbor city, I'll call a getaway city as well, that has also a lot of Kivirians from Brockton moving here. It's just amazing. We're all excited and we're looking for the opportunity to come here. We have coworkers that live actually near the address he's going to open, that works in Fall River. They go to Mr. Da Silva restaurant in Brockton, and they are excited to have the restaurant near them here in Fall River. So we're here just to show some support to a business that is well known in Brockton, and we feature him in our monthly how I can say, social media will put information about business that are doing well. Enterprise, the local news feature his restaurant as well, just to let him, everybody know that despite all the circumstances, with him just to become a well-known business in Brockton, he went through maybe some of the things that he went through, is going through here now with the license committee, but he successfully opened a business and is been running a business, and I feel that he deserves an opportunity to bring also something that he's doing great here in Fall River. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for or against? Yes, Miss.
Debbie Ferrera, 100 Palmer Street. I just want to say that I agree with Mr. Higgins that these meetings have gone on long enough, and that I hope that everything that we have repeatedly said for the last 3 months has not fallen on deaf ears. I am the neighbor that abuts the property where this parking will take place, and I don't know how many times or how many ways that I have to say that I don't want this to happen. Because if it does happen and it doesn't work out, it's going to take us longer to stop it. And it doesn't make sense to me after all that everyone here has come here month after month and told you how much we don't want this in our neighborhood.
Thank you. Yes, Miss.
So, my name is Charalis. I live on 68 Etna Street, and I understand the concerns about the parking. I live right in front of a pub, but I don't think that should be held against him. We should give him a chance to open here, and if it's gonna be used as a condition for him to stay open, then he should be voted in favor of, and we should give him that chance to open, and the experience will let us know if it works out. That I know of, I haven't really found any restaurants like Reto's, Mr. Da Silva's, here in Fall River. And the experience, the food, everything, the culture is all part of it. It's not just about parking or any of that stuff. So I think we should give him a chance to be able to bring a positive environment to the community, because it's much needed in our area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Natalie Mello, Bank Street Neighborhood Association. For many, many years, we've supported Father Kelly neighborhood. My concern is if this goes through, what's the hours? I think maybe if there was good hours, because I remember Mr. Da Silva saying to 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe if it's good hours, maybe like other restaurants, 10, 11 o'clock, maybe it won't be so bad, but being later, it becomes an issue. And I feel Debbie, I understand how Debbie's feeling, other members. We've been through a lot in our neighborhood with drugs, people drinking, prostitution, drive-bys, gangs, guns. So it's scary. And what Father Kelly neighborhood's been through, they've been through hell and back. So it's got nothing to do with him or anybody else that works for Mr. De Silva. It's the fear of all the things that they've been through. So that's my concern. And then, you know, if they're gonna have open hours, I mean, if they're gonna have a kitchen, is their kitchen ready to go? And the concern is hours. What's the hours? Maybe they can work on hours where everybody can be okay. You know, nobody's knocking down businesses. We all want business, no matter where you live.
Thank you.
Let me address the hours, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
You may recall when we first came here, actually, you weren't here because Mr. Salino was the chair.
I'm sorry, Attorney Frank, Mike, I apologize.
My error. We were looking at some morning closing hours. I've talked now to Mr. De Silva, and we would propose the following schedule. Tuesday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11:30. Sunday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Tuesday, Thursday, 9 to 10.
Friday.
Friday and Saturday.
Saturday.
11:30, 9 to 11:30. Sunday, 9 to 10.
You can't serve alcohol till 10, though. He can be open, but he just can't serve out on Sunday.
What's the cutoff time?
10 is when you can start, AM.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I left that part out, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I understood that. That's my error.
Sunday 10 to what?
9 to 10 on Sunday. Obviously, no
right.
alcohol until 10 a.m.
Yeah.
I'd like to make one quick comment, by the way, in defense of the board. Not only have we had a change in, I'm just going to make my statement and leave it as that. But if at this particular moment, I will speak on behalf of the other board members. If this would have been a snap decision in a meeting, people would have said one way or another that either he wasn't giving due process our applicants, or the neighbors, you know, we held history against him, or, you know, we just buckled with the neighbors or whatever. I'd like to say that I think the licensing board has tried to do due diligence here and balance the weight of everyone's feelings, emotions, strengths, weaknesses, the ability to conduct a business, things of that nature. So if I can say in defense of the board, I understand that it's been, you know, it's taken some time to get here tonight. I do expect some sort of a decision here tonight, but if I may, you know, if we would have made this decision in 5 minutes at the first meeting with the prior chairman before I was here and whatnot, everybody would have said we're shirking our responsibilities in one way or another. So I at least would like to at least get that out there and get that on the record. Now, back to the matter at hand. Assuming we don't have any additional questions, is there a motion, or generally, I would like to say that I still think, which regardless of Attorney Frank's offer, I think the board was going to stipulate the presence of parking spaces anyway. So again, I'd like to, if I could put in my 2 cents and thinking out loud here, that any motion that we decide to make tonight, assuming that there is a favorable one, that it is tied to the presence, the constant presence of the 24 parking spaces. And if that lease does go, then there's an immediate temporary revocation of license, however it's going to be termed, but that business is shut down until those parking spaces are replaced, so to speak. But the board want to entertain a motion here.
Well, I'll make a motion that we can change the hours to 11 p.m.
For the Friday and Saturday?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so your motion, Mrs. Esposito, if I may,
Yeah.
would be to approve. I believe we have an all-alcohol common victular application here, correct?
Is it all? Yeah.
All-alcohol common victular With the operational hours, if I could repeat, Tuesday to Thursday, 9 AM to 10, Friday, Saturday, 9 AM to 11, and Sunday, 9 AM to 10.
Yes.
And with the further stipulation of the presence of the 24 parking spaces.
Yeah, how about the situation with the windows, though? Would that have to go in front
Well,
of-
again, that would be up to, we'd have that vetted by,
Yeah, Glenn?
by Mr. Hathaway, the
Hathaway.
building inspector.
Yeah. So we'd have to wait for that?
Well, again, they can also, I mean, they're not gonna open without a sign off of Glenn, so we can have him
Right.
research that prior to.
Mr. Chairman, whatever the building inspector tells him to do, he's gonna do.
He's gonna do, yeah,
Because he doesn't get a CO if he doesn't do what the building inspector tells him.
correct, correct, correct. So, do you think we could have the motion restated clearly? Because I just want to make sure your intent is on the record.
Oh, yeah.
Or Ms. Cadero.
I'll make a motion to approve the all-alcohol common victualers license for Juliime Friends and Lounge pending the change of hours from Friday and Saturday, closing at 11 PM, and the parking spaces across the street.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, so motion made by Ms. Cadero and seconded by Mrs. Esposito, approving the application with the hours stipulated as Tuesday to Thursday, 9 AM to 10 PM, Friday, Saturday, 9 to 11, and Sunday from 9 to 10. Obviously, applicant observing all alcohol serving licenses and whatnot, and with the provision of constantly maintaining 24 parking spaces. So can I ask for a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. The application is granted with those stipulations.
We need you to approve Mr. Pina now as the bar manager.
Oh,
Can I get a second motion, please?
Did we?
Yeah.
Did we?
Ileana DePina.
as the-
Ms. DePina, I'm sorry, can we get her full name? I apologize.
Ileana
Yep.
DePina.
I'll make a motion to approve Ileana DePina as the manager of Juliime and Friends.
And I'll second that motion.
So motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Ms. DePina is the bar manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And that matter closes, and now we're gonna get to item C.
Thank you for the board.
Be sure, thank you, sir. Good luck. Show cause hearing for Haboob Club, Inc., DBA Selby Lounge, 144 Guild Street. Once everybody gets settled in here, I just want to set up a little, this is my first show cause hearing, so I do want to just try to set up a little process, some ground rules here. So at least we know how the meeting's gonna flow, what order we're gonna take this. So I don't have to mention that you folks are entitled to representation, because there could be anything from no action to revocation. I see that you have Attorney Assad here. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna open up with the police report from Detective Moniz. Clearly, we've had an incident. I will ask Attorney Assad if he wants to waive a full reading of the police report, and then we'll get Detective Moniz's testimony. The board may ask questions, Attorney Assad may ask questions, and then we'll turn to Attorney Assad's presentation of the case on behalf of the licensee, and then any police department rebuttal, obviously the questions from the board to Attorney Assad after his presentation. Since we have a documented instance here and testimony is going to come from Fall River PD, I'm not going to take or solicit comments in opposition, or opposed or for the licensee here and whatnot, the police report, the police department will essentially be the moving party on behalf of the citizens of Fall River. So with that explanation, if we could please have the report. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes.
I may. Attorney David Assad. I'm an attorney licensed to practice in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I maintain offices at 326 Pine Street in the city of Fall River. Member Commissioners, there was in fact an incident that occurred on the 7th of November 2021. I think it's documented, well documented by Detective Monis's report. The necessity of reading the entire report I don't think is required. I think it's the report as it was presented to me by Ms. Ayash substantially dictates what happened on that evening from midnight until everyone left. I think that it's well documented within the report that there was a disturbance. The police responded. The participants and the members of the club left peacefully without incident. The building was shut down, and from that point forward, there's been no further incidents at that location. So that's, it happened. We're sorry that it happened, and on behalf of, I think it's Officer Goslin, we extend on behalf of my client the apology for his disturbance, his wife's disturbance, and his child's disturbance. He only lives about 250 feet away. Mr. El Khoury, Freddie El Khoury, the man to my left, was not present. He was in the Middle East at the time. The manager, it's the manager of, we talk about it, Freddie El Khoury is the manager of the club. He's the manager of the liquor license. His brother was there in his absence. And that was the gentleman that was referred to in the report that cooperated and made everything disappear that night. Had the patrons leave, the patrons left in an orderly fashion. I think I was smiling a little bit in the report that some of the people that were leaving were thanking the police for coming and doing their job. And from that point forward, there's been no further incidents.
Okay, so Attorney Assad, if I interrupt then, so you're waiving the reading of the full
You don't have to
report?
read the report.
And it sounds like you're stipulating to the facts that
Those are the facts. I mean, I
report
can't-
stands
I can't-
for itself.
That's correct.
All right, so is it fair, Detective Monis, unless you would like to interject at this point, then if not, we can go right to Attorney Assad's rebuttal if you wish, or your presentation. Is there something you would like to add, at least at this point? Obviously, we reserve the right to ask you questions. Attorney Assad, please continue.
No, so that was the incident, that's what happened. After that, we had a discussion as to the management of the club and the things that needed to happen holding the alcohol beverage license. The hours of operation end at 12. We understand that. Why it continued beyond that, I don't have a good explanation other than the party that was going on, and I'm not saying that this is an excuse for the party. The individual that was hosting the party recently had a child. He was having friends and family over the party. He became a U.S. citizen, and he also completed a business deal that was successful. So he invited friends and family over. They were having a good time. I can't verify this. I thought I could, and maybe some of the officers that were there. But at the end, as they were leaving, they were playing the Star Spangled Banner. So I don't know whether or not, because there was some singing and there was going on, but my conversation with the DJ that was there or doing the music, that's what they were playing. Everyone was very happy to be in the United States. But after that incident, we've also talked about from now on having a detail to make sure that incidents like this don't occur, that the doors are closed, that there is Mr. El Khoury on the premises when this is happening, because he's ultimately responsible for the behavior of the patrons and the running of the club. And that's where we are this evening. The rebuttal I have none. He wasn't there. I believe the police report. I would ask that if the board considers this incident as a one-off, also the period of time, this was the first time that people could gather after the COVID restriction was lifted. So you've had Mr. El Khoury got his license and he was essentially shut down. This was the first activity that was taking place on the premises. Prior to that, he had the license, paid for the license, and the club wasn't being used. And I think those are mitigating circumstances, and the behavior of the patrons may be something that the board should consider, or I would ask them to consider. And maybe ultimate disposition may be a warning. I have nothing else to add.
Attorney, yeah, Heather, do we have?
Detective.
Detective, yeah, I'm trying to think. Do we have other incidences that you know of at that club?
No, that's the only one that's been documented, that was reported to me. I don't believe there's been anything since then that's been documented or reported.
Not even prior?
Prior, I can't speak confidently on. I don't recall there having been anything prior. Like, I think he said this was their first time opening since they've been in ownership of the
That's
business.
correct.
If there were any reports for that address, it was probably under St. Anne's Frat, the prior
Yes.
owners. So this, I believe, was their first time opening since they purchased it and renovated it.
And I believe this was a Sunday night in November?
Sunday,
Yes.
that's correct.
Okay.
Any further questions for either Attorney Assad on behalf of the licensees or for Detective Monis?
No questions.
So
it looks like this was the first incident.
Yeah, and since it's the first incident, I mean, clearly we have to act with at least
Put it
a
in the
written
file.
warning, but
Yes.
again, I'm willing to entertain a motion for whatever discipline the board would like to entertain.
I would make a
So-
motion to give a written warning and place it in the file, as this is their first offense.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to place a written warning on file, made by Mrs. Esposito, seconded by Ms. Cordero.
Place
I
it
just
on
would
that- place it
and
on
place on
file.
file.
Place on file.
I just do want to, again, and I understand and I've heard all the mitigating factors. Obviously, in the future, we got to make sure that we're managing better here, so we don't have this extent of disruption within the neighborhood, and I understand that those property owners do live near a club, and it was a club for many years and whatnot, but again, it is a Sunday night, and I doubt the residents who were woken that night or prevented from sleeping, joined in into the national anthem and whatnot. Like, I'm sure that they were not pleased. So I understand the mitigating circumstances, and Lord knows nobody on the board is afraid to have a good time and whatnot, but we have to stay a good neighbor, so. Well, hold on, I'll turn.
No, I just want, you were talking about neighbors. There was a few neighbors that came out this evening in support, but I really didn't think that it added anything because they're enjoying a good relationship with the club.
Yeah,
but there are neighbors here.
Certainly the off-duty police.
Well,
police officers,
that's why I extend the apology
They were
to
folks
Officer John.
inconvenienced,
Absolutely. I wasn't there, but the reports were so well-written, well-documented. Listening, this is, that's what happened, and it was a one-time.
The other officers, so they did a good job.
That's correct.
Okay, motion's on the table to issue a written warning to be placed on file, and was seconded by Ms. Cordero. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. So, Madam Clerk, you will, in your normal course of business, please issue a warning to the licensees. Second item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, member commissioners.
You're welcome, sir. 7D, extension of hours for the Haboob Club DBA Selby Lounge, 144 Guild Street. On behalf of Mr. El Khoury, again, Attorney Assad.
Yes, so we had this incident where it was over 12 o'clock and people were there. My understanding is the operation of the club as it exists right now, they've been shutting down for 12 o'clock, meeting that mandate. The license has a 12 o'clock limit. The request is to expand it to 1 o'clock, so we don't run afoul of any further incidents going beyond 12 o'clock. So last call, clean up, get out by 12, by 1 o'clock, the place is shut down.
Questions from the board members?
Extension of hours.
No questions.
No, I have no questions. Well, I just have a suggestion.
Yes.
If they know that they're going to have a party with a lot of people, they should have the police, I would say.
Well, that's what we
have to-
talked about. We said from now on, when we have parties like that,
Okay.
they need to have at least one detail, maybe two.
Yes, yes,
That's
depending on
gonna
the
be, that's
amount.
gonna be a prerequisite for a member requesting the hall.
Yeah.
So now in the back of the written warning for the noise violation, that we passed 12, we're now being asked to consider an extension of the hours till 1 o'clock. Guys, can you give me what are the hours for the week? As they stand now,
As of right now, it's still 12 o'clock every night.
but when
12
we open
was
though?
it 12 to 12, isn't it?
I believe it's 12, yeah.
12, it was a 12 to 12 license.
Sunday to Saturday, or Monday to Sunday, I should
Yes,
say?
7 days a week.
12 to 12, 7 days a week. So now you want to go to 12 to 1 a.m.?
Just on Fridays and Saturdays.
Friday, Saturday. Does the board? Wow.
So he went,
We'll
yeah.
entertain a
this is-
motion here, so it's to extend by an hour on
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday.
Okay. Okay, I'll make the motion to extend the hour till 12 o'clock. That's Friday and
Friday and
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yes.
Thank you,
No.
Madam Commissioner.
Till
No, no,
1
no.
a.m.
Till
1
1.
a.m.
Till 1.
1 a.m.
1 or 12?
No,
12, I
it's
had
at
said
12,
12.
1.
It's
The
12.
current license is 12.
Well, Terry, I'm just saying, I think Ms.
Oh, I
got
thought she said
misunderstood.
1.
She said 12, right,
Oh,
Terry?
I'm sorry. I thought it was changed from
Yes, I
12 to
said,
1.
yeah,
It's
12
okay.
to 12,
You
yeah.
can change it if you want to. I'm not telling her how to do it. It's just,
Oh, I know what you're saying. I can extend it to the 1
Yeah,
a.m.
if you'd
All
like
right,
to.
Yeah,
For Friday and Saturday.
for
So you
Friday
wanna-
and Saturday, so yes, I'll make a new motion.
Okay,
To
so withdraw
extend
the
it.
prior motion.
Withdraw,
Okay,
yes.
new motion. Go ahead, state the
12,
times.
12 to 1 a.m., Friday and Saturday.
Okay, so we have a motion
To
made
Yeah,
to extend by an hour, Friday
Yes.
and Saturday,
Right.
made by Mrs. Esposito. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so motion made by Mrs. Esposito, seconded by Ms. Cordero. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this motion to extend the hours from midnight to 1 on Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
So, Mrs. Esposito?
yes.
Yes, Ms.
Yes.
Cordero, yes. The chair will be voting no on this. So motion passes, and operation of hours extended for an hour both on Friday and Saturday.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank
Okay.
you, member commissioners. Thank you, Ms. Ayad. Thank you, Ms. Peppermint.
And unless we have any sort of business, there's nothing else on the agenda. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second the motion.
Motion made by Ms. Cordero, seconded by Mrs. Esposito. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned.